All right.
Thank you, everybody, for joining today. I'm Katie Burkowski. I'm the chair of sport management, and I'm going to talk about TikTok today. So I use TikTok with our iPads in sport and social media, but what is really interesting is I think that there's a great application for TikTok pretty much across all disciplines. You just have to be brave enough to venture into that world. So for those of you who might really not know much about TikTok, it's basically a social media app. It's a mobile app, so it can be installed both on phones and on the iPad. The purpose, what makes TikTok distinct from other platforms is that it's really intended for short, user-generated content and videos, not photos, not text. So Twitter, we'd think about text a lot. Facebook, we'd think about networking and keeping in touch with family. Twitter might be a little more anonymous. Instagram is going to be really photo based and some video, but TikTok is something a little bit different in that there is video and it's a lot of interaction with strangers. And the videos can be as short as 15 seconds and as long as 1 minute. Recently, TikTok came out with, there's a big long history about TikTok that I can tell you about later at another point. But there is this thing called the Creator Fund. And so popular TikTokers can become a member of the Creator Fund, make some money off of their TikToks that's not directly related to sponsorship or endorsement, any business deals, but rather they get money as a member of the Creator Fund. And those individuals can actually make TikToks up to 3 minutes long, but the average user between 15 seconds and a minute. So some of the things to think about in terms of using the app for educational benefits, really, there is such a plethora of topics, conversations going on that I think that TikTok has a perception that it was only just goofy dances, and that's really because that's what made it popular. But I was thinking about the things that I see on TikTok all the time. Yes, dance, absolutely. If you do anything with like motor development and movement, I think that TikToks are fascinating, could be a wealth of research on motor development. There's tons of stuff with nutritionists, virologists, definitely in sports, organizations and fans. There's some psychology stuff. There's some really interesting therapists online, lots of conversation around ADHD, tons of conversation about fun, funky history that most people don't know. I've even seen stuff as much, it is so far out there as like migratory patterns of birds. And so if you want to find it, it's on TikTok. I almost guarantee you that it would be on TikTok in some shape or fashion. It's an excellent platform for representing concepts as opposed to directly discussing concepts. And I'll get into that with how I use TikTok in my sport and social media class. It's great in terms of content creation. So if you want to create assignments where students create their own content and post it, that's what the assignment is that they're assessed on. Or it could even be a great platform for professors to share instruction. So little snippets of instruction, or to use other experts in industry that are producing TikToks. Very similarly to the way you might move to YouTube to try to find someone who might lecture on a topic that has expertise that you don't have, or maybe they're just better at explaining something that you struggle with. You'd be surprised, you can find it on TikTok as well. So in terms of some examples of what students could create, you can do scavenger hunts with finding things on TikTok. You can do a pair and share. So in the classroom, you can talk about, here's the concept we're going to talk about now, go onto TikTok and find some TikToks that exemplify that type of, that concept that we're talking about. Really, it gives, it's a social media platform that really maximizes creativity. So the app itself allows you to use filters, music. You can do what's called a blind reaction, to where you're being recorded as you're watching a video to see what your reaction is. I'll admit a lot of that are like thirst traps and middle-aged women responding to thirst traps. If you don't know what a thirst trap is, Urban Dictionary later another time. So there's a lot of humor there and things like that. You can also do what's called stitching, whereas I might create my own original content, and then you might come in later and stitch with that video. So you might sort of interrupt the video with your own content. Usually it's in a direct response to the content that's being created. Where I find it most fascinating is looking at some stuff that virologists make in response to inaccurate information about the pandemic, about COVID-19. I find this great. I like the sort of social checking of people of saying, hey, did you know that what you said was incredibly offensive to X group of people. I find the community policing quite fascinating. This is why I also think that it's awesome to use for a resource for teaching, a way to create assignments, and then also it really could be a great source for research, particularly in the worlds of sociology, psychology. I'm sure we could go on and on with that. Students also have the opportunity with this technology to create basically a green screen. So they can use a function in the app that allows them to put any image that they want behind them. So if you wanted them to do a short 1-minute elevator pitch on research that they've done, they could have a graph green screen behind them. They could have data behind them. They could have a photo that exemplifies the thing that they're talking about, or a certain passage of text on the green screen behind them. All they have to do is kind of go like this in the video, and they can highlight what they're talking about with a visual as well. I also love an accessibility feature, and that you can add captions on the videos. And so when we think about diverse populations that might have other needs, you can put warnings up about flashing content, about potentially what's the word I want to say, triggering content, you know, anything that might need a trauma warning, or just text so that anybody who needs that type of accessibility, you know, deaf, hard of hearing populations. And then also you can use different features like throwing stickers and animations to make your videos flashy, or there might be a broader purpose for doing that. But what I like about specifically with TikTok and the iPads, and I point my iPads down here with all my notes, this sounds really ridiculous, but why I like TikTok on an iPad as opposed to just on a phone. If you have a case like this, the ability to record your content propped up easier than a cell phone can do. I mean, we all know, I don't have one on my phone right now, but we have pop sockets and things like that. This is actually just more functional, I think, than trying to figure out where's that thing that you can lean your cell phone up against. The larger display of an iPad is incredibly functional as well. It's easier to navigate some of the things. And I will say, as the old lady professor, it's easier for me to watch the content. I mean, I can absorb tons of content on my phone when it's just for fun. But when I'm looking for things intentionally in a video, particularly if the students are using a green screen, just the larger display on my iPad helps me grade them much easier. And also, I think a challenge for some of our students, and I'm going to be stereotyping a little bit here. I have some football players in my classes who are maybe offensive or defensive linemen that have big, old, meaty hands. And so for them to navigate different functionality and using the features on TikTok on a mobile device can be a lot easier on an iPad instead, because the display is just larger. They can, their hands sort of fit on the screen better. I also like using it because if you're creating content or reviewing content in class, you can just pair it so easily with Apple TV. Everyone's looking at the same thing at the same time. More so, what a lot of people don't realize about TikTok is that you don't have to create your content in TikTok. So if we were to look at what seemed to be really professionally produced content by influencers, it's because most of the time they're creating that content somewhere else, saving the video, and then importing into TikTok. So sometimes TikTok is just the way that we give people access to the video. And so when we think about pairing some of those features of our iPad with TikTok functionality, we can be as basic as using the camera app on our iPads to film something, and all of the features in photos when we go to edit. So we can edit for length, we can edit, we can crop things, we can do all the things that our iPad inherently provides for us, and then upload that video into TikTok as well. And so sometimes people might just like those features if we're more familiar with them. We might like them a bit more than what TikTok does offer. We can also think about using other apps on the iPad that might help us produce the content that we're looking for. So definitely you could produce something in iMovie, and other apps that don't come on our iPad, but if you're an Adobe user, if you want to use Premiere Pro on your iPad, or Premiere Rush being the more mobile version of Premiere Pro, you can get some video editing capabilities that aren't available in TikTok that help you create what you really want to create. So one of the things that TikTok lets you do is put music over. You might find that the music that's available on TikTok is not actually what you're looking for. It doesn't help you convey what you're really trying to convey, either from our perspective for instructional purposes, or from the student perspective. with what they're looking to help communicate their message back. But if we can create it in Premiere Pro, lay in the audio that way, we can actually create the content that we're really wanting to create and still deliver it through TikTok. So some of these other video editing and audio editing softwares, these other apps that we can use on our iPad can help us create what we really want to create and then still upload through TikTok. So for my benefit, really as a professor, I like the creativity that students can embrace, the ways that they can rethink how they're communicating what they know. And if we're thinking about the global idea, this probably fits into universal design a bit. If we're thinking about if the purpose of assessment is to make sure that students can demonstrate that they are comprehending, that they can use, that they can synthesize, whatever sort of level of Bloom's taxonomy you want to tackle here, if they can do that through a TikTok and you can say, yes, they know this information, they can bring it together with other information, they can evaluate this, it's an awesome tool. And when we think about, I'll say myself, as I'm getting older and I think about what students are comfortable with and what they have grown up doing, so they have some skill set already that maybe I'm trying to learn now, they're leaps and bounds ahead of me. And so if I can get them excited about a topic, this is an app, and now they have tools that they can use to help them execute quite well and highlight those things to me, that they know the content, that they can synthesize, et cetera, et cetera. So the fact that it's easy to see, easy to grade, and easy to share, especially when we're either doing a critique as a class or highlighting exemplar work to really to help other students improve their work as well. That's really easy to do with the iPad and the pairing on Apple TV. So real quick, I just want to tell you how I use it in class. In sport and social media, we talk a lot about marketing through social media, that what sport organizations do. And part of that marketing is talking about branding. And so how do you build your brand? How do you extend your brand into the marketplace more? How do you create a positive reputation, et cetera, et cetera. So the students have to do an assignment where I tell them nothing about what it's linked to, but I tell them that they have to write just a paragraph about their brand. Who are they? What do they stand for? What do people know about them? So this is usually when they write about things like, I'm a hard worker, I love sports, my family's most important to me, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't tell them why they're doing it. They just think they're processing the branding lecture. Then in the next class period, we introduce, hey, guess what? You're going to create 10 TikToks throughout the semester. And you're going to do it in a way that they all have to represent your brand. And so they kind of stutter a little bit and they're, well, what does that mean? And so what we're doing is we're actually mimicking what happens in a sport organization, to where you have to, as a representative of the organization, create content for that organization that ultimately is reinforcing the brand, communicating the brand over and over and over again. And so sometimes when there isn't a game, when there isn't an upcoming season, when there isn't a specific promotion, you have to create content. What do you create content on? And that's a very difficult thing to do as a social media manager. So what I'm asking students to do is create content without a specific sales initiative, without a start of a season, without a whatever, but continually reinforcing your brand. And so some knock it out of the park right from the get-go. Some really struggle and start talking to the TikTok as if they're explaining a paper. My brand is blah, blah, blah. And then again, you can take it back into the classroom, pair up on the screen, show somebody who did it really well, have that conversation about creating content that represents something as opposed to directly speaking about it. So that's a lot coming at you fast. I was trying to be cognizant of the time and I probably still went over a lot. So if anybody has any questions, I'll happily answer them. And that is extended to anyone who might be watching the recording later. If you have any questions and want to email me or talk about this more, how you could implement it in your classroom. I'm not the expert, but I've done it a little bit. So Kristen, did you have a question?
I sure do. I have a million questions. I should have written them down. So 2 that are standing out. The first one is, if the student creates, say they create this TikTok and they're thinking, ooh, I don't love that one. Is it something, and I've never used this, but you have me so curious. Is it something that is immediately public and you can't take it away, or can they lock it down until they feel really good and they could delete some older versions?
That's a great question. So every time you create a TikTok, it's actually created as a draft and it won't publish until you manually tell it to publish. And so one of the features I really like about TikTok too is that as you record, if you can hit start and stop, You can move your segments around. So if you want to do one straight message as I'm talking here, you can do that. If you want to record a little bit, stop, regather yourself, record a little bit, cool. Actually, that thing you said made more sense to go before. You can move the order. You can insert music for a little bit of time, take it away. You can have text on the screen for a little bit. It can then go away. You can do a lot of editing capabilities in TikTok, which is really one of the things that differentiates it from other social media platforms.
So you just set up my second question. Do you need to spend a lot of time with those students teaching them how to actually use the features? Or do you find that this is something either A, they already know, or they just pick up really quickly because it's so easy to use?
I think both of those things. Part of this is going to sound like I'm passing the buck a little bit, but part in sport and social media, like I can't teach you everything. You have to go play with the app. So go screw around with it. Make goofy ones with your friends, leave them in the draft. Try different features, leave them in the draft. You can have, this is important to say, you don't have to, you can have 5 in the queue in your draft and you can publish them individually, independently of each other. It's not like if you want to publish the third one, the rest in the order go to. So I always say, go and use it, experiment, have fun with your friends, be goofy. I also give them the out. They don't have to be on the screen. If they can represent the idea that we're talking about, in this case, their brand, and they want to stitch different videos together, they want to write text over it, they don't need to appear in it at all in this assignment. It might be more appropriate in other assignments to require that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you have a question?
I have a question, Katie. So what does TikTok do? And I'm the old lady professor too, I've never used it. What does TikTok do that you can't do with Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, Photoshop, all these other things? What makes it special? And I heard a little bit about that, but I'm wondering what you think is the difference.
One thing that I think really differentiates it, say from YouTube. YouTube is a hosting platform. YouTube doesn't provide all of the editing and like fun, funky filters and all the stuff that you can do. YouTube also, you can subscribe to different people and you can engage on message, in the comments and stuff like that. But I think that TikTok really creates a mechanism for engagement in different ways. So one thing that TikTok has is your list of people who you follow, and then it's also a FYP, or For You page. And that FYP are videos that TikTok, based on their algorithm, are thinking that you'll like. And so they keep pushing content. So TikTok is actually kind of funny because sometimes it gets a little stuck and you'll watch videos of people who are like, so somehow I landed on lesbian TikTok and now that's all I've got, lesbian TikTok. But it's awesome because you can learn about different groups of people. If those aren't your people, you can learn about different groups of people in ways that they're talking real talk. It's not a textbook, And so I've gotten stuck in like woodworking TikTok, women who do extreme couponing for their families. I made a joke about thirst trap TikTok earlier, sports, you name it, it's out there. And so there's all these little subcultures that I think don't exist on other platforms in the same way. The content isn't pushed to you. But again, even if you don't want that, you can focus only on the people that you follow, the accounts that you follow. And a lot of those editing capabilities just don't exist in other platforms. Snapchat, you can post a story that lives, but it's going to disappear after a while. It's only going out to your friends. It's not going out to the world. And you can make your TikToks private if you only want your friend group to see. There's some capabilities.
So
there.
One of the things I've been doing this semester more than previous is making videos on you that I publish to YouTube. Yes, I'm creating them just with a desktop tool, and then using YouTube, like you say, as a publishing mechanism. And that links in nicely to Blackboard, but it's also durable so that I can use it for other classes or other semesters. So is the same true with TikTok? Is if you publish it, is it basically just a URL that you could put on Blackboard?
So what you actually can do, and I'm glad you asked that question because I forgot, it's in my notes, but I forgot to mention it. You can download content out. So you can actually have the video file that then it would just be a regular video file that you could embed in Blackboard. Now we'd want to be conscientious of the display to make sure that the resolution was high enough and that that's not too tiny, because all TikToks are created vertically, not horizontally. So sometimes when you go to Blackboard, that can turn out a little bit weird. When you download a video out, you can do it with, you can save your own videos, obviously, but you can download other user content as long as they host their content that way. So some will make
It's
it so that
probably
the
not
videos-
captioned and all the other ADA things
yeah,
like YouTube is.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There will be a TikTok watermark. So if you use other social media platforms, like if you're on Instagram, you probably see TikTok videos all the time. Lots of the ones that show up as reels on Instagram are actually TikToks that people just upload into reels then. So a lot of this content showing up in other places. Did I answer the question?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Katie.
Yep. Katie?
All right, so I have two questions. One, I'm wondering if you have any students who have either used iMovie or Clips on their iPad, because Clips especially is another app to kind of create those really short videos with the stickers and the text over the graph, like, but to make those really short things and then upload them to TikTok. And if
I
you're
have not had that
Okay.
experience yet, but I think because, so we have only done 3 out of the 10. The first was a real, do I understand the assignment? Am I doing the assignment as intended? The
Mhm.
second was, okay, I didn't understand the assignment. Now I'm doing it more. This week, which I haven't graded yet, I can see an evolution starting to happen. So I'm excited to see when they start to play with more features, like how long that takes. And then also, will they start using more regularly other apps to help them create that content?
Yeah, because I would definitely, like, just as a tip, I would recommend students experiment with the Clips app, which again is just free on your iPad, has a lot of the same features and might fit really well with what they're trying to create in the end for the TikTok. My second question is, have you had any students who are really resistant to it, who are like,
Yeah.
I love the project, but I don't want to post anything on TikTok?
I've had students say, I hate this project, this is stupid, and I hate TikTok, and I hate social media, and I don't want to do it. Ironically, those are the students who are creating the most engaging content.
Yeah.
That there's actually a great creativity that I never would have seen out of them. So they're doing it because they have to, but it's giving me an opportunity to saying, hey, I don't think I should say the student by name right now, but hey, you are, your aim is to become a football coach. And so your brand was really written about how much that you care about your student athletes and how you want your student athletes to succeed and grow into the men that you know that they can become. And so this person is creating awesome content where, like, one of the videos were about when your team's on a bye week, and it's him like throwing the football to no one. He's just by himself. He's helping student athletes run drills who aren't there. So they're like fake pushing up against it. He's lost. There's one where he's in the middle of the field, like fake coaching, and it's all empty. And the message is really being communicated. You are not fully you without the student athletes in your life who you work with. And that's what you're so passionate about. That was someone who
But
was
they
like,
can do this with a safety net. If they really don't want this to be published for anyone else to see, they can live in that, they can live and satisfy your requirements,
Can they,
right?
right? Can they do it privately, Katie, and just send it so you can see it?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So if you as an instructor didn't want to have TikTok, which feels a little hypocritical in this circumstance, if you were asking students to do it, like I have a personal account that I dabbled with it, and I just don't know what I would say. I don't know how I would brand myself. So I haven't put a lot of effort into creating content, but I made 2 last year. And so I followed them and they can follow me. And, so if they didn't want that to be public, if they were really insecure, 1, again, I created an assignment where they don't have to be in it. 2, they could set their stuff as private as long as I can follow them. They'll accept me as a friend and then I can see their content. So I just log in, I have a night class on Tuesday. I log in on Wednesday or Thursday. I go through the list of students and I have a rubric that I set up on Blackboard that really I'm assessing them on perceived effort. Did it look like you just reposted somebody else's content, or did you edit it to match your brand somehow? Did they accomplish, and the heaviest weight is on, did they accomplish representing their brand? Oh, and then just was it engaging content? Was it creative? Because the whole goal is to learn how sports organizations do this. And if you're not capturing anyone's attention, then it doesn't matter how much you represented your brand. It wasn't engaging. No one cares. So that's how I use a rubric, and then it's real quick grading. And I do that in Blackboard, and I view the TikTok in TikTok. But if there are other issues, they could always download out and just submit a video that way as well. Kind of takes away the fun, I think, though. And I'm shocked. Some of my students I mean, I did this for a while for a sport organization, for a new sport organization for 6 months. And I was like, yes, 400 views. This is amazing. First time one of my students did it, 1,000 views. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And a lot of it is just their network. They know how to create content that's relevant to other people. And they figure out ways to get it to the people who are going to care about it. So you can create your chemistry content and you find a way to get it to people who care about chemistry content. That's how you get stuck in those For You pages of like, oh, my whole feed now is just like chemistry.
Are there really people interested in chemistry?
I will say that's actually one topic I shouldn't have said because I haven't looked into it. But the number of
Okay,
scientists
Kristen, you
talking
got to
about-
find all the bio nerds, right?
Yeah, like COVID-19
there's
virologists
that.
and people talking about how the research that was done, I mean, it is fascinating. It also is a great lesson in teaching students how to be discerning consumers of the knowledge that they're accessing. And so what are the credentials of the people who are speaking about the virus? What are the credentials of people who are countering those people? Is this a productive conversation or are these personal attacks on people? There's a big lesson there. I mean, if we're just talking about helping our students become digital consumers of information, I mean, the number of times that I personally, and I shouldn't admit this, especially in a recording, but I have a vested interest in some of the nutrition stuff. And I'm like, well, let me tell you what I learned to my friend. And they're like, oh, where'd you learn that? And then I have to say a TikTok video. And it's not to say, I mean, I follow registered dietitians and it's fascinating because even the variety of their perspectives is quite broad, but that compared to junk science that's also out there, you really have to be discerning. And I think that if we as professors model that by using this content in class when appropriate, we can help students figure out how they can use it appropriately as well.